The next section of our exercise is about arrays. So now we are going to create a new class with the name Array. Since I already have one, I will name it Array2. And now we are going to start with our arrays. So what is array? Array for Java is a variable with square brackets. First, what we want to do, we want to declare an array. And we want to declare one array of data type float. So we write float, and now we are showing Java that we want this variable of type float to be an array. And that's why we are putting here square brackets. And now we write the name of our array. So this will be array weight array. Now we have declared an array. The next step, we want to initialize array. And we are writing weight array. And now we want to set a fixed number of elements to our array. Let us say that our array will have 5 elements. To initialize this array, we write new float, and we write the number of elements in square brackets in this way. The default values of the weight array that has now 5 elements of type float are, I will write it just here, 0.0f. The next step, we want to populate array. That means that we want to assign specific values to those 5 elements of our array. In order to do this, we will now access every element of array, and we will assign a value to every element. So we are writing weight array, and we want now to assign a value to our element number 1 that has index 0. We will come back to this. And we want to be we want this element to have the number 85. Since our array is of type float, we also put the letter F here. And now we are going to, in the same way, to populate all the elements of our array. And the last element with index 4 with value 78. So now we have populated our array. Our array that has totally 5 elements. Initially, all those 5 elements were set to 0.0. Now they have changed. Now, after we will run this code, all those values will be set to those values, all those elements. Very important in Java, in comparison to other programming languages, the array starts with index 0. This is very important to remember. It means that if you want to access the first element of an array, you're accessing this element with the index 0. If you want to access the last element of an array, for example, if an array has 10 elements, then you are accessing the 9th element, 10th element with the index 9. That's why you see here 5 elements starting from 0 index, and we have totally from 0 to 4. There is also another option how to declare, initialize, and populate an array in one line. Declare, initialize, and populate array in one line. We are writing float, our data type. We are showing to Java this will be an array with square brackets. The next variable is height array. And now, in order to populate it in the same line, we are using curly brackets. We're all setting semicolon at the end already. And now we are writing all our elements inside of curly brackets, and we will separate them with commas. So the first element will be 1.8, type float, comma. Next element 1.5 f. And the last one 1.75. So here in this f, of course, in this line we have written this is an array. The name of this array is height array, and the size of the array is already set, and the size equals to the number of elements that are inside of our curly brackets. It means that we have now initialized an array, the same that we have done here in this line, with 3 elements here, just by putting those elements directly here inside. Now what we want to do, we want to print the elements. System out print line those elements to our console. So we want to what we want to do, we want to that console shows us the length of an array. So the length of weight array is weight array. Now we are using method. When you want to use a method, you're putting dot, and then you see that Eclipse suggests you which methods could you use. Of course, here are not all methods. We want to use the method length. And additionally, we want to know the length of the next array. Oh, well, let's just put it into lines this way. So length of height array, and we are correcting also here height array lengths. So if you have a look on our code now, before doing anything, what you see, and this is what a kind of advantage that Eclipse tell you, is that you already see here some errors. So you see that something is not correct. You can go into error, but actually we already see, we know that what we are missing here in our code in order to run it is, of course, the main method. So now we have to add it. Public static void main string arguments, opening curly bracket, and here closing curly bracket. So what we will do, we want to make a very nice structure, so we also want to shift it one indentation to the right, and now we can use step for this purpose. Now everything has shifted, and we will run our code with Ctrl F11 shortcut. And we see here the length of weight array is 5 and length of height array is 3, and I see also here a mistake. Important here to remember that when we initialize array, we are setting the fixed number of elements. It means that later, when we will be populating our array, we have to set all the values, or actually you don't have to set all the values. If you don't do this, then the default values will be there, but you are setting only values for those 5 elements. The next very important part concerning arrays is about accessing the elements of an array. And this is what we are going to do now. Accessing elements of array. And for this purpose we will use our system out println command. Don't forget to put a semicolon always. And now we want to put here sentence. So just coming maybe a bit in advance to our commands, to our methods, when you're printing anything to console. How do you do this? Usually you have some kind of text that you want to, console to print just for better readability, and you usually want to print the values of some variables. When you want to print text, you print the text in those double quotes. You're putting the text here inside, and the text that we're putting now is the first element of the array is. Next, we want to add to this sentence, so we want to print this end sentence if we'll just now make a run. So we will see here the first element of the array is. Now we want to print the value of a variable. For this case, we want to add something to the first sentence, to the first part that is already there. So we are putting plus, and now you're putting the name of the variable. Wait, array, and we want to I will just enlarge it. Wait, right, we want to access first element. So as I already told you, the first element has index 0. That's why we're putting here in square brackets the number of the index itself. And if we will run now, we will see here 85. So actually this is exactly our element. You have seen that it doesn't look nice. So what we want to put here some space, and we want to put maybe point at the end. And for this purpose, we put everything that we want to print to console as a text in this double quotes, and we want to put point dot at the end, and this is a next element, next part of this system out print line. That's why we are putting this in this way as a text. Now you see it looks nice. Okay, so this was short introduction to arrays. What we want to do next, we want to populate our BMI calculator with, let us say, 5 elements. So we want to calculate the BMI index for 5 people. So first we will create a class that is called BMI calculator 5 people, and I will put here too. Very nice thing here is public static void main that can be created automatically. I will use it now here, and you see that this is our auto-generated method. However, I'm doing this to save some time, but I'm advising you to write this line by yourself till you will remember it. So what we are doing now, we are recalling what was in our BMI calculator. So we had here variable weight, variable height, variable BMI. So now if we want calculate the same BMI index for 5 person, then for 5 people, then we will put 5 values to the weight variable, 5 values to the height, and 5 values to the BMI. So those variables have to be in arrays. And here this one. And we will, let us say that these variables will be of the type float and not double, just to save some memory for our program, because as you know, as you have learned already, float takes a bit less memory than double variable data type. So float weight array, this is our first variable, and we will initialize and declare at the same time. I will just put it here, declare and initialize. Declare and initialize variables. New float. Since we want this array to have values for 5 people, we are putting here 5. The next one, we'll just copy them here. Oops. And just correct. The next one is height, and the third one is BMI array. So now we have 3 arrays. We want now to assign values. So populate array, let us use this nice word. Populate array. So first we are populating our weight array. The 0 element equals to 85 float. So just to save time, I will just copy all the values here, because I think that you have already understood how to do this. Next array is our height array. We are populating it in the same way. We are accessing every element of this array and assigning value to every variable. Here are all other values for other 4 people, and the last array is BMI. Well, BMI array, actually we have to calculate it. So now we are calculating BMI index for 5 people. And now we remember the formula. We had it here. This is the formula, weight over height times height. So now we will calculate this formula for every person. That is, we will assign the results of this calculation for every person into this BMI array. So first we write to which element do we want to assign the results. Now we will calculate the results for the person whose values are saved into weight array in this element of index 0 and height array element of index 0. So correspondingly this will be saved in BMI array with index 0. And now we are writing our formula, weight array with index 0 over height array with index 0 times height array with index 0. And don't forget the semicolon. So I will just copy now the same formula for all other 4 people. Okay, I will make it nice. Now you see it very nice, good aligned. And at the very end, we want to print the results of BMI array to our console. Print the results to the console. And we are using our system out println statement, and we want to print first the text, the BMI of person 1 is, and we make some space. We are putting the space here inside of our double quotes, and we want the value of our array that is an index under index 0. Save there. We want to print it also, and we are putting also a dot. So let us have a look which results we'll receive, and here the result. The BMI of person 1 is 24 point something. So I will just copy the code for all other people, and we are looking at the results, and we see now how nicely results for all people are received here, are written to the console. Of course, this is not the most effective way to writing the code. That's clear. We have now spent a lot of time of writing the same stuff, weight array, weight array, weight array, and so on, 5 times. Well, now we have only 5 variables, but only 5 people, but imagine that we want to calculate the BMI array for 100 or 500 people. So you don't want to type all this stuff by yourself. And for such cases, we will use some very nice statements that we will discuss in the next exercise to save us some time. But for now, our goal was to populate an array, and we have done this. So the next part is about the next type of array, and this is multidimensional array. We are creating now new class that is called array multidimensional. Where's number 2 for me? I will write now public static void main method here because I haven't pressed this shortcut, so I need to print it by myself. Arguments and curly brackets. So what is multidimensional array? Multidimensional array is an array that have elements that are arrays themselves. When you want to declare and initialize array, but first to declare, you use double square brackets to do this. Let's us do this. We want to declare, and let us save some time and initialize at the same time the multidimensional array. Multidimensional arrays then can be of two types. First type is an array with equal sized arrays inside, and the second type is an array with unequal sized arrays inside. What does it mean? It means that the first option, when you have equal sized arrays, is also known to you as matrix. So we will just write here matrix for simplicity. And we want to declare a multidimensional array of type integer, and now we're putting twice square brackets or double square brackets, and at the same time we are now initializing it, and actually we will also populate this array at the same time. So our matrix will have 3 lines and 3 columns. It means that our array, so let us come back first to our previous example with, where is it? Here, PMI calculator, no. This one. So when you wanted to populate an array in one line with initialization and declaration, you had to put the elements of your array here inside of curly brackets. So what we will do now, we have put here already curly brackets, but we don't have only one array inside. We want to have 3 lines and 3 columns, so we want to have 3 arrays. And in this way, we say that we will have 3 arrays inside by putting 3 times curly brackets. Inside of those curly brackets, we are putting elements for each array of each single array that is inside of our multidimensional array. So the first array, let us say this is a line in the matrix or column as you want. It has the numbers 1 to 4. So as you have already seen in our array 2 example, we are separating the elements with commas. And this is what we do here. Very simple. The next numbers, next values for the next array, and our last one. So now we have populated, we have declared, initialized, and populated our multidimensional array that is matrix. What we want to do, just for our curiosity, we want to print some elements of this array, and this is very important for you to understand how to access correctly the elements of multidimensional array that you want to access. So we are printing some statements or printing elements to console. System out print line. So let's imagine that we want to access the element that is on the row 0 and on the first row and on the second line. So we will write it here. First row, second line, and we will write it here. Element at row, I will enlarge it, at row 1 and column, not line, and column 2 is, and now we will put here the here's a mistake because I didn't put the name. The name of our multidimensional array is matrix. So now we want to access those two, like this one number that is on row 1 and column 2. Row 1 and column 2, this is how we know it in matrix. When you imagine this matrix or this multidimensional array in terms of Java, then you will remember that row 1 actually has index 0 and column 2 has index 1. So this is how we are accessing our element. And now for, let's remember, for accessing element of our just single normal array, we use square brackets here. So here we would put the number of element. And pretty in the same way, we are accessing the elements of multidimensional array. We showed here that we used here double square brackets, and here we are using also double square brackets to access elements. And the first element, the first index is 0, our row 1, and second index is 1, row 2, column 2. And this is the result. Element at row 1 and column 2 is 2. Let us check it. Row 1, column 2, this is 2. So in terms of Java, this is row with index 0 and column with index 1. In the same way, we just want to print some other elements just for our example. And we see here, for example, the element that has index 2 and 2, that means that this element is on row 3 and column 3 is 30. This is this one. The element on the, so here of course we need to correct it. 3 and 3. Here element on row 3 and column 2 is number 20. And the last one is element with index 1 and 0. That means it's row 2 and column 1. Row 2, column 1, number 2. This was example of a multidimensional array that has equal sized arrays inside. There are also examples of some multidimensional arrays that have some unequal sized arrays inside. And this is example with the unequal sized array. So let us imagine we have a multidimensional array with the name weird matrix. That is actually not matrix. And we have also 3 arrays inside. We are separating them with commas. So now we have shown that we are going to use here 1, 2, 3 arrays inside. And the first array has only 2 elements. The second array has 3 elements. And the last array has only 1 element, and this is number 10. And we want to print some elements to our console. So element at row 0 and column 1 is, and we are putting here, we're now accessing this element. So let us, this is now written like at row 0 and column 1 in the sense of array, not in sense of matrix. So we are just for us to help us to define the element, the indexes at the beginning. So write matrix zero, 1. And you see this is 2. Row 0, first array, and element 1. So this number 1 has index 0, and this one has index 1. And now we are done with our multi-dimensional array and arrays for today.